Hey everybody, welcome back to another Storm Watch. This is a
Who's talking?
webcast.
Who's talking? I can't tell.
Ooh, spooky. Well, well, I mean, at least three of us wore costumes today, Glenn. So,
Yeah.
anyway.
Hmm.
Um,
Hmm.
and now that Glenn's completely ruined my inability to do a professional intro, this is a webcast and a podcast where we get together, talk about the latest phones, the latest things happening at Census and GreyNoise, really important cybersecurity news that are out there, and sometimes conspiracy theories jump in a little bit too. Today, for those that are watching, is a very
Yeah, this
special.
isn't going to translate to the
Yeah,
pod very well.
so I would encourage, and I don't normally just tell people to go to like YouTube or whatever, but like if you are just partaking of this in audio form, you might want to at least peek at the video, just because we are all in costume today. And I would like to, and one reason why like Glenn asked who it was is I'm invisible. I'm literally invisible man today. And I will probably have to at least partially reveal myself because I cannot see with this on. Anyway, the green screen stuff is great or whatever. So let's go around the room or the virtual room. And Emily, first of all, welcome back to Stormwatch.
Yeah. Thanks for having me.
And what are you dressed as today? What are you in costume as today?
So today I am Louise Belcher from Bob's Burgers.
Nice.
She is an intrepid 9-year-old who I firmly believe grows up to be a pen tester because she's a great social engineer. She's a lockpicker. Like, she's just really tenacious. So that's her future. Yeah.
There should be an entire now fan fiction verse of just that.
In my head, that is like what happens.
Every creative out there, because there's a lot of creatives in cyber, like, go do this. This would be amazing. I think that's a great idea. And as I warned you, I was going to ask what your scariest vulnerability is.
So this is maybe a cop-out answer because it's not a specific vulnerability, but I think one of the scariest kind of things right now in my mind is all of the mercenary spyware kind of stuff that's happening.
Fair.
So like lots of mobile, like iOS vulnerabilities that are kind of scary. Those things in particular, just kind of, they're not part of my personal threat model, but like
the NSO
they're just
stuff.
Yeah, Pegasus, like that kind of stuff is very dystopian, very, I don't know, just sort of unnerving. So yeah.
Next level for sure.
Gotcha. Kimber, welcome back. How are you feeling?
Doing good. Doing
awesome.
Good.
Also, just heads up though, now that Emily started the trend, we have to say what our costumes security job would be.
Oh,
all right.
Mine is very good for that. I am Cozy Bear today.
Nice.
That's perfect.
It is. It absolutely is. This is incredible.
Cozy Bear, also known as APT 29. Generally has been active since 2008, I think.
Forever.
Something like that. A while, a minute. Yeah, just maybe a proxy for Russia's foreign intelligence service, but also just cozy, bear. So I already have a job.
Yeah.
Okay. I'm hired, as it were.
You're already in.
Absolutely. And what is your scariest vulnerability?
Oh, this is a really good one. Anybody that's still hosting on-prem Exchange.
Okay, fair. Very
Pour one out.
Yeah.
So Glenn, now that you have to actually come up with since you aren't wearing a costume, you can make up whatever character it is that you would have dressed up as.
I, sir, am Ted Lasso. And what's funny is I spent some time playing with AI trying to generate a cybersecurity Ted Lasso speech, and it did a really good job. However, I can't do it with the accent, so I bailed on it because it was just too much.
So wait. So you went half in and used AI to generate the thing.
Yeah,
but you didn't bother using AI to do the speech in his voice because you could do that. That's a thing. You could do that.
Yeah, well,
I mean, I am used to the half measure.
Yeah, the halfway. Yeah.
And what is your scariest vulnerability? Or actually, so what job? But what job would that do?
I should have thought that through before I proposed that. I think so. So Ted is like really overly cheerful or positive. So I'm gonna say he's like he's doing something with questionnaires. Like
I
something,
feel like
something that's a total beating. Something that's a total beating, but he's just fine with it. Like he's just like, yeah, you know, like we'll get him next time or whatever. Something with security questionnaires.
All right,
I
that's
just
cool.
feel like he would make a great CISO. Like,
Maybe. I don't know. Yeah.
Or at least a great manager. Like, way to rally people, keep people encouraged.
Yeah,
Yeah.
maybe he's the team lead for security questionnaires. I don't know.
Okay, there you go. And your scariest vulnerability?
I was trying to be creative on this and stay away from like the obvious ones. So I went back and looked at Kev, and I'm gonna say CVE 2002-0367 solely because it was added to the Kev 20 years later in 2022.
Wow, that's not great. So I have to do what my character would be as in security. My character would be a transparent proxy server.
Oh gosh. On the
you
public
know,
internet,
Yeah, whatever. I had to go there.
management port exposed, all that jazz.
Totally.
Okay.
And I'm gonna cheat because I am terrified of one of the vulnerabilities we are going to talk about today, and I think it's really bad. A vulnerability that's bad enough for the CISO of the corporation to be really open, transparent, and like, wow, hey people, you're kind of screwed. Is what it was is not great. So I'm going to pick the one that we're going to talk about today, and I'll point it out when we actually get to it. And I'm ruining costume time because I can't see. So there we go. It's still pretty good though, I think. All right, so we are going to dive right into this.
This is a much scarier costume for you, Bob.
This is actually a little bit, yeah. And we're going to start off with just a reminder that these are how you can get a hold of us on video or in audio format. I know Glenn hates the URLs. We will work on URLs, but show.greynoise-storm.watch.
I think they get longer every week.
.greynoise-storm. I could do that. Be careful. I actually be careful what you wish for. And we started something the other week, and we got to continue it because we never have good news on it's just one punishing horrible thing after another. So I just wanted to start with another positive thing, and that this is a really recent development that a bunch of our allies and us got together, and we have now pledged to never pay hacker ransoms. I am 100% in support of never paying a hacker ransom, and at least now they're going to pay lip service to the fact that we won't do that.
I have a one-word response to this.
Okay.
As the young people say, bet.
no, it'll definitely never be like a U.S. government agency, but it will definitely be. I mean, didn't MGM just pay its ransom? Like,
Yeah.
The government doesn't need to if all of the large corporations are doing it.
Yeah, it's kind of crazy. I don't know. So anyway, that's good news, but we also managed to bring that good news down as we are wont to do. So moving on, that's the URL. I have got some weird transition stuff going on with this particular slide deck. Anyway, we need to go back in time a little bit, and because we have some to revisit some things from last week because there's been some additional developments. I think everybody might remember that we talked a bit about Beyond Trust and also Cloudflare, who were victims of Okta's ineptitude or whatever. And 1Password shortly thereafter joined in the fray. And I just, they just both they said they have a club now. Like this is the breached by Okta club, and
it's like the SNL 5 timers. Do they get a jacket or something?
They should get something. I mean, this is really not good. The interesting thing about this is 1Password just recently announced an alliance with Okta. There's an actually integration between Okta and 1Password, and just the fact that like both Beyond Trust and 1Password were involved in this and noted that they were impacted by it. It's I don't know. Like I'm gonna use the word scary a lot today, mostly because of the day, but having identity providers and things that secure identities being targeted and compromised, it just sounds like we're in for a really bad 2024. I don't know about you guys.
It doesn't inspire confidence.
Okay.
Yeah.
I have some comments, but they're more related to to 1Pass's response, because I'm basically going to become the police of security comms, I think, on this show. But it's like I did appreciate 1Pass's response to this, and kind of a shout out to Justin Pagano really for pointing this out, but on LinkedIn. But they had a very good like short bottom line upfront blog with some upfront information about it, and then they linked to their internal made external incident report that was 4 pages long, had some good details, a little timeline, actions and reprioritizations. Like, it was very just like, it was just good. It was like, this happened. Here's what we did. We didn't hide it. We didn't whatever. So, I know the last couple of weeks I've been a little edgy on some folks. So I just kind of want to give some props on that, because, like, clearly this is, everyone's going to have to deal with an incident. That's not the problem here.
All right.
The problem here is just them being an identity provider, hard files through through a third-party support portal, all that, like, not great, not cool.
When a company posts their full incident report, they get all of the props from me. So good job to 1Password on that one. Like,
Totally.
it's a good.
And it wasn't written in, the speak of lawyer, like overly lawyered or whatever. It was just like,
right,
here we are.
And Okta is getting beat pretty badly as a result of this in the markets. Just on that one day alone, they dropped 11.57% in value lost. Not great for everyone out there. And rightfully so, sort of. Emily got on my case a little bit last show for recommending a Google tool for.
I mean, Google's fine, but I just, if you want to really preserve your privacy and you're worried about these files, like, I don't know.
It didn't now, like, in my defense, I mean, I know they could flip a switch at any time. Like, it is a client-side only web thing that Google has. So, like, that's one reason why I did it. But anyway, I'm not linking to Cloudflare's because I am not a big fan of Cloudflare. But Cloudflare also released one shortly thereafter. But forget those online web tool thingies. I should have remembered this person's name, but we got a link on the screen right now to hard-sanitize and the GitHub link to the repo. It is a little Golang CLI that basically does the same thing. It's really good. I tried it out on a couple ones and it worked really well. It does not send telemetry anywhere, which is great. So I would recommend people put that into their workflows if you're going to be doing something like that. And maybe all those support desks should be recommending people do that as well too. Just revisiting also the debacle that is Cisco. Cisco IOS XE CVE 2023-20198. Our friends over at Horizon 3, they're just amazing researchers, and they have a great write-up. This is a great piece on it, and it's also like shows the POC and works through the whole thing. We've sort of beat the Cisco iOS thing to death, and Emily's going to get a chance to talk about the scans that Census has done, like follow up later. Do we want to save some of the Cisco iOS convo till that, or you guys want to pile on any more Cisco iOS things?
I mean, I selfishly will say that there's been some, and I know that we're like using the words opposite of what we should use, but there's been some cool vulns that that are really validating the honeypot model. Let's just leave it. Let's do that.
Shameless self-promotion. Really?
Exactly.
Really? Is that what we really are about? Is that?
Well, I wasn't going to call it out, but
okay.
So
we'll talk about it later. So we'll get into it later. It's a great read if you haven't read it. So like the URL is coming up too. And as usual, oh, you know what, Ashley, I forgot. None of this is possible without our amazing Overwatch Ashley, who is dropping links into the channels, and we'll have the PDF up and the pod up and everything. I appreciate it. We also didn't get a chance to see Ashley costume. I'm just gonna throw that out there. So solidarity. That's all I'm saying, Ashley. So now back to our regularly scheduled programming. So this is my scary vuln. There's a brand new news yesterday about a CVE 2023-22518. It is an improper authorization vulnerability in Confluence Data Center and Confluence Server. And why this is scary is that on the support page, there is a giant yellow box with lots of text in it from the CISO. I am not even going to try to pronounce their name. I will respect them enough to not just destroy the pronunciation. And that does a great job communicating the severity of this. And I'm going to read this part. Sorry, everybody. As part of our continuous security assessment process, we have discovered that Confluence Data Center and server customers are vulnerable to significant data loss if exploited by an unauthenticated attacker. There are no reports of active exploitation at this time. However, customers must take immediate action to protect their instances. Please read the critical security advisory below for instructions and vulnerability details. And I forgot to add one character out of it. And I did warn Emily ahead of time today, so I'm not being a jerk today like I have been in the past couple. And Emily, how many of these might be out there?
Yeah, so total Confluence servers that we see hovering around 30,000. This does include on-prem and cloud hosted. I didn't break those out. But there's a lot of Confluence out there.
Wow.
Yeah.
And you found one great one, which I have up here too. This is confluence.raccoon.pet. I gotta believe this is a honeypot.
So I actually think it might not be. I'm not totally sure, but yeah. I won't like get super into the details, but yeah, I think it might maybe be real. But yeah, the interesting thing, like this affects the data center version, not the cloud hosted version, which we see again and again.
And does it, Emily?
I mean, so like I'm almost like, well, in terms of conspiracy theories, like, well, I guess it makes sense to like have everybody come over to your cloud hosted, model and I don't know, like I just think it's interesting that it typically seems to be in these on-prem or like data center versions.
I just would have thought that someone running a domain of raccoon.pet would have been cool enough to not use Confluence. I just, seriously.
I mean, in my mind, this is just like maybe where the neighborhood raccoons are like keeping track of like the best trash cans. I don't know. Like,
and like maybe like
a document. I don't know.
Project planning of how they go and attack various garbage cans in the neighborhood.
Yeah,
but they probably have some like territories they have to track. It's probably some really serious business. Those raccoons are monsters.
I know. I might have to take a deep dive on this one. Because it's pretty weird.
Very interesting domain. Yeah,
it is. It's pretty cool. And actually, one reason why like I focused on one of the domains like poking at RDNS in not the letter R, reverse DNS in the GreyNoise data sets is a hobby of Kimber's as well too. And Kimber finds some of the coolest reverse domains when she does that. So this is the next one up we have is notice from Shadow Server, reminding everybody about CVE 2023-36745. It is a post-auth RCE, so not too scary, except that like there's like 3 gazillion, quintillion, whatever credentials out there, and no one changes their passwords and no one uses 2FA. So this is pretty bad in Exchange, and they found around like 23K that's out there. So I don't normally say like just go use cloud services, and not that Microsoft has a great record in cloud services security. But like if you're running your own Exchange at this point, like I don't know, you might need to seek mental help, because like I don't understand why anyone would run their own Exchange server anymore.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah, I mean, to your point, this is post auth, but I mean, just getting in. I think it's like a network adjacent vuln or something, right? So
yeah,
just getting into the network is not hard, as we can see from Confluence, as we can see from the last month or 3 years of our life. So pre-auth, post-auth, unauth, whatever you want to pick it, like it's still not great.
Yeah, it's just not good, and it's one more thing everyone's got to worry about on top of all the things that have been out in the past 3 weeks, which is really not great. Time to talk about SolarWinds. They've had a little bit of fun in the past couple of weeks. The first thing is that there's 3 CVEs, all rated 9.8. Great. That are all remote unauthenticated attackers can execute arbitrary code in the context of system due to, and it's kind of all the usual suspects: deserialization, no validation for user supplied paths, and no validation again. And so like like this is like does anybody at SolarWinds actually do their own poking at their stuff and maybe go check for and could they not just run sneak and maybe identify some problems or some code? I don't know. It just seems like really they're not. This sounds like no one's even trying anymore.
Well, this isn't even the highlight of their week over there, which is
Oh, I know.
also unfortunate.
And I didn't bother Emily with this one because like I don't really like SolarWinds has been beat to death in the previous years of things and like all the fun from before.
Wait,
so,
isn't this this is the month or no? November's the month or October?
Yeah,
The anniversary.
the anniversary. Oh yeah, I don't know. I should have even thought about that. I don't know. It's hard. I don't really celebrate those things, so it's it's not really great.
Well, celebrate it. It's more about like what triggers that narrow month's PTSD from incident response engagements.
Yeah, it's just not good. And what also is not good, and I'm curious to get everyone's opinion of this. And I'll get the link up too. There we go. So the SEC decided that, like SolarWinds telling everybody about 3 really horrible vulnerabilities that are going to get immediately hit once the POCs are out. That they just charged SolarWinds and their chief information security officer with fraud and internal control failures, basically saying you lied to us, or they're at least insinuating the allegations are they lied to everybody about all of the things back in the day. So I wanted to ask the 3 folks here: did you believe a word SolarWinds said when they basically coughed up the details of things back in the day? Did you just take them at face?
From years ago?
Yeah, that's because that's what this is.
That was December of 2020.
Yeah.
Okay, so that was okay. So
there was a lot going on.
And December's not a great month, is it?
Nope.
No, it's really not. And 2020 was even weirder. So
yeah. Anyway.
The misleading of investors in specific, I think. I really love the wording of generic and hypothetical risks, but they knew about specific deficiencies. And of course, you're not going to disclose your deficiencies to investors. So it'll be interesting to see this play out entirely. I think this is probably going to be a very important case in the future and kind of set a precedent, I think, because I'm trying to like go back in my mind if anything like this has gone through before. But I think because of how much government money was invested in, well, quote unquote, invested in SolarWinds, not like directly invested, but they bought it, right?
Yeah. Well, there's also, I mean, I think this kind of is showing the winds of change overall for the CISO role, the ISO office. We had the Uber trial last year, and charges there, and I should have pulled this up before the show, but there was a quote in there from I think one of the prosecutors, and I might be butchering this somewhat, but basically it's like we're working to set some examples and some precedents for this going forward. So I feel like this follows on and kind of tacks onto that, as far as at least triggering more pain and heartburn for companies when they have some of these kind of quote reckless practices. And so where does that, how do I feel about that? I don't know yet, because I do think there should be more accountability for some of the crappy software, but also like we do know that software is software, and you can't make computers not do things that you don't want them to do, because that's our whole job, is to detect that. So, I don't know where that lies, but it will be super interesting to watch. And everyone in those ISO roles, CISO roles, those offices are going to want to follow this very, very closely, and all of the similar findings from it.
Yeah.
It's like I want Emily to comment, because I have a challenge to what Glenn just said.
Well, no, go for it. Raise your challenge.
So you say that, and over the past, I forget, I think it's over the past decade or 15 years, it's greater than 10 years. The number of public companies has gone down from 8,000 to 4,000, and everything's being shunted into private equity because SEC and other organizations that do enforcement and regulatory stuff in the public sector in the US have said like they're doing more, like they're finally doing their jobs. And so now everyone's like, well, how do I get around this? And they're getting around everything. Like you don't have to make anything public if you do that. And I was going to save this for another show. Like I actually had planned to do a whole segment on this at one of the ones, but we don't need to go into great detail now. But like not every company can just poof, like go private. Like that doesn't work. As evidenced by Twitter/X, but because you eventually just kill everything off. But this only applies to 4,000 companies right now. This is what this means, and any new one that pops up.
I don't think I realized that. That is interesting.
So people should watch it, but I'm betting right now in boardrooms across America as they see all these things happening that like, like maybe we should consider like going private. And I guess secondarily too, like this is going to cause a lot of people to say, maybe I don't want to be a CISO.
That's actually what I was going to bring up is
go for it.
So I have never, oh goodness, I hear some echo. I feel like it's such a critical role for companies, but I can't imagine that as this kind of unfolds, like we're going to continue to be able to pull in like the brightest and the best and the strongest leaders, because who would want to sign up for this? Like, I don't know. I'm worried kind of about the future of like having strong CISOs and like information security officers, because like this is a hard thing to navigate. And like the lifespan of a CISO or an ISO is so short in terms of like, tenure at a company. Like, I don't think we've done ourselves any favors by that being the thing that happens. So yeah, I worry about that. I'm curious to see what that looks like in, 5 years.
Yeah, it is interesting to see the damages or the punishment, going towards individuals versus the company. Because we've all worked at organizations that it's not like security is a business decision. There are trade-offs. There are risk management decisions. There are so many complex things you have to navigate, including security is expensive and costs money. And so not everyone can pay to have the latest, greatest, bleeding edge, anti-phishing detection, AI, blah, 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 buzzword in their system. So, I do get really uncomfortable when we start talking about people being charged with criminal charges that have jail time and stuff like that attached to it. That does feel very uncomfortable to me. What doesn't feel uncomfortable is, holding companies as a whole accountable, which basically means fines and restrictions, because that's how we handle companies. But like I can't imagine someone. Well, certainly the CISO role didn't get any cheaper. The salaries didn't just go down. That's for sure.
Yeah. One of the things that I was wondering about is I was thinking that maybe legal departments would have to change a little bit. Like if you are, a company this big, I imagine there's an actual like legal department. I would hope that there's a legal department, but they would have to be a bit educated on cybersecurity and like the risks involved in there. So is that more of like a risk related assessment? Is that like a legal assessment of risk? Right. Like there's so many weird law things that are coming into this now. I don't know. My career goal is no longer being a CISO, but baby, it was like, let's go. But,
can you imagine being like in a boardroom and you're like, we need, $600,000 for XYZ, and they're like, no, and then a year later you're back in the boardroom and you're like, well, I'm going to jail. Bye.
Bye.
Who would sign up for that?
But let's be clear. Like he's not going to jail because they lack security measures. They go into jail because they lied about the security measures.
Yeah. I guess we're conflating.
That's a whole different story. Like being intentionally duplicitous is one thing. Like that's a whole other.
That's fair. That's a good
set of things. Yeah.
And I don't know who the CISO of SolarWinds is, but they're in good company, like at least charges wise, because Uber's CISO got charged and actually got judged, and like they got a slap on the wrist, and they're appealing that right now. And given the way our courts work, they might even get off. That's how things are. Hold on a second. I am going to show that in terms. So we have a comment from one of our own. In terms of legal being more involved and aware of cybersecurity risks and best practices, does this not fall to compliance officers and such versus CISOs? It's a good question.
Kind of all of the above, really, because compliance is inferring that there's something to be in alignment with. This is, well, again, like this, I guess we kind of went off on a bad tangent from this because, yeah, like this is defrauding and misrepresenting. But generally speaking, like we're talking about, making decisions that may or may not have poor outcomes in the future.
Right.
And that's not necessarily compliance. That's navigating
All right.
the business or whatever. So I feel like the answer to that question is pretty much like it's a combination.
We have a couple folks who missed the intro, so I'm actually going to put my costume back on real quick so that they can actually see my costume.
I prefer this version of Bob so much better when I cannot see.
I mean, I can put it back on every time we go, but I just can't read anything on the screen.
I love that you committed to this, Bob, and you're just like, I can't see. Like, this is just how this is going to work today.
Hey, Bob, do you have scissors in your home? Like, maybe.
But that would look weird then. Like I could have, we talked about putting sunglasses on over this, but like then like I don't know, I'm just not doing it. I also like didn't want to ruin this thing either. But anyway, they don't know who you are. Like there are people that don't know who you are, Glenn, because they cannot figure where you are.
Well, I'm sorry if they don't have enough culture to watch the greatest. Actually, I take that back. It's not the greatest show. It's a good show. Anyway, next slide, please.
Wow. Okay, we're moving on.
Ted
from
Lasso.
This.
Ted Lasso.
Lasso.
Guys.
I'm Ted Lasso, y'all. What is wrong with you?
So what's on the screen now is Microsoft security report on Octo Tempest. So anyone that missed this, it's actually a really good read. It's longish. It's less. I mean, it's less time to read it than it takes to watch or listen to episodes. Octo. Yeah, it's Octo Tempest. This is a really great report on this group that's pretty horrible. And I have a summary of it that people can read. And basically what they are is they're a really nasty attacker group. And Microsoft actually used the word significant danger, which is interesting because I don't normally see those things being like those types of additional things being put into reports and adding that little level of color. They primarily hit the natural resources and gaming and hospitality and financial services industries. They've done a lot of things in the past. So like like SIM swapping, social engineering, adversary in the middle techniques. They used to steal cryptocurrency. They started to do some ransomware with Black Hat. But the thing I wanted to bring up with this that made me like, whoa, and actually sit back and as I was reading it, like they actually part of their social engineering is like they threaten to hurt you or worse. So they actually like do in their social engineering and in the comms, they threaten physical violence. Like this is actually legit old school, like it'd be a shame if anything happened to you kind of things from the mafia days.
Please go read the Microsoft report so that you can see the screenshots of the text messages threatening people. And it literally reads like a 12-year-old kid in my opinion. Like it's bad, it's terrible, et cetera, et cetera. But like if I got these text messages, I would be like, let's go. All right.
It is reminiscent of a playground, meet me outside.
Yeah.
Situation.
So yeah, I wanted to ask for this one, given that attacker groups emulate other attacker groups and they bring in tactics and techniques from other ones, hopefully with a little bit more like class behind the threats. Do you see? I mean, we already have a bunch of folks out there that just don't ransom anymore. They just break in, steal all the data, prove that they've stolen all the data, and then basically extort you for that. Do you see those kinds of groups moving to the and will hurt you if you don't? Like, do you see other folks emulating this and like one-upping it, or do you think this is like a one-off?
I can't imagine this is going to be very effective. Like the extortion itself, like why even move past that? Like that seems to be pretty effective, at least from what we've seen, I think. And I'm saying that based on not like actually looking at totals from like lots of attacks, but like even thinking about like Move It and some of the file transfer stuff that I've been like deep in this year. Like, I don't think this is necessary. And it just kind of seems strange.
Like if you're asking for $10 million in Bitcoin, like a company, like this is like I'm thinking of this from like the capitalistic point of view. Like the company cares about their data and how they make money and whatever. So if you're threatening to release data or shut them down, like GM, Caesar, like they're going to pay the $10 million. If you're just threatening to meet Bob outside, I'm assuming Bob doesn't have $10 million. One, two, like no one's gonna. Sorry, Bob. No one's gonna like chip in to that GoFundMe to get that money to you to pay the Bitcoin, right? So like I don't think it's gonna be logically effective for the sums of money, that are usually involved in extortion and with these threat actors.
I do think some of their techniques are very like these reports are pretty good to read because you get to know the tools.
You mean their attacker techniques, not the threats of violence?
Yeah, not the bullying, not the cyberbullying. They must be like on Discord a lot to be really good at that. But like the tradecraft and techniques. So like what Go libraries are they using? How are they probing the networks? How are they performing their recon? And like where are they actually like doing this? I don't want to call them script kiddies, but like when you cyberbully someone over text message, like you kind of give me like script kiddie vibes. But it's just like what tooling are they actually using to do the stuff that matters once they get the access? Yeah, like the SIM swapping part of employees is actually really interesting.
Yeah, agreed. That's kind of also interesting, like the juxtaposition between like the sort of immature threats and then like some of the things they're actually doing, like hands-on keyboard type of work. Like there's almost like a disconnect. Like I would maybe expect someone like making the like physical violence threats to not necessarily maybe like be using all of those techniques. So it's kind of interesting. And I am very curious to see how this plays out. Like, obviously I hope no one gets physically harmed. That's horrible. Right. But I'm fascinated with this whole.
What a stand. Yeah. Bold opinion.
Well, I know, like, don't come for me in the comments. I hope nobody gets hurt.
Is it Glenn the one getting hurt? Because I can go other ways. It's all right, we shall move on. Actually, there was a busy little bit of time for Microsoft writing up stuff and announcing things. I do like their whole banner thing they got going on with the website. They changed up a bunch of things. I'm liking how they do their banners for the stories. This is a story about, and I think
I'm trying to be positive by saying I like your graphic.
I do actually, and actually not that anyone at all listening or even on screen cares what I'm about to say. The way they did this CSS wise is really neat. Like they actually use some pretty cool techniques on the actual webpage itself. So it's pretty, everyone should just poke at it. It's pretty cool. So I think we ragged on Copilot. They're Copilot for security, like in one of our first couple episodes, and it had there was nothing. It went dead silent after that because it wasn't ready, and no one really got to use it. I'm sure some really early access folks got to it, but it wasn't generally available. And now, if you too would like to have a stochastic cybersecurity parrot like tell you incorrect information, you can.
Is it Clippy?
You can sign up. This is Security Clippy. It's basically
Clippy,
chat.
With that.
Yeah. So the TLDR, in case anyone missed it the first time or hasn't been following this, is they took like Microsoft, and I will not back down from this. They have a 49% stake in OpenAI, which they only did that to get around having to do anything with antitrust garbage. They in essence own OpenAI. They in essence are OpenAI, and they took all of OpenAI's stuff and then trained it on they focused on all the cyber stuff that it stole over the years, because we've all been gracious enough to give this thing all of our data. And then they trained it on everything. Like they just threw a whole bunch of PDFs and Intel report, like everything from their databases into it. And I'm sure they did some refinement. I'm sure they've done some prompt engineering. And basically this is now a thing that's tailored to be able to do security stuff. And matter of fact, specifically what it is, it can help you in writing queries. So it's sort of like if you don't do SQL or you don't do like the Lucene queries, like RG and QLR, and that's horrible. No one should do those. The most people don't want to learn how to do those things. So and actually, I should just do props to Census. You have a really cool I should put a link to this. I'll get a link after the show. You have a really cool one that actually makes the census search usable for people like me that don't like the Lucene queries. So it's really great. And so that's one thing that might work great, and it's proven to work. Census proved to work. We have a little one too that we don't pimp too much, but we probably should do more of that. And summarizing security incidents. So it's like I don't know how helpful those things are going to be, but this thing is like if you sign up for it, you'll get you get Defender for free with it, and it integrates with it, and you can talk to it and ask it questions. I mean, I don't know how much this is going to cost. Like that wasn't anywhere the thing, and like I'm not going to get access. Like I'm not going to poke at it or whatever. Although it might be useful to use if they give an API for this for the SIFT thing that we talked about a couple times. Like it knows more about, like it's been tailored to know about just security things, so it might improve the analysis that some of our SIFT does. But like there are so many problems in cyber that do not need AI to solve. I'm just curious what you all like. Do you like? I mean, predicting this is hard because we don't know where it's going to go. But like, what do you think about this now that it's available?
It's giving GitHub Copilot. Same name, same concept. Yeah.
Same company.
Yep.
Same company. So they're just really going with this Copilot situation. And from what I know, people are not like the hugest fans of the GitHub Copilot. So maybe the security one will be better.
I just have a mental image of Clippy always recommending Defender every time you ask it a question. Like, that's the only thing it can do.
The summarizing security incidents part, like, the little Clippy image of like, I see you've been phished. Writing an incident report.
Oh yeah, I don't know what to even say on it. Like we'll see, I guess. Like, I mean, we're all using AI in different ways, and we poke fun of it because some of it's silly. We utilize the hell out of it because it's super useful for like my team, like with the SIF stuff we made. Like we're cranking out tags and identifying vulns in our network traffic. Like, so there's good and bad, but those are like so far apart that it could just go either way. So I think it's a wait and see thing. Like, could be cool. I don't know. Maybe. I don't trust it, but it could be cool.
Yeah. I'm cautiously optimistic, but I don't know. I kind of want to see where things go.
Please do not use AI to write your incident reports. Like, that should be a hard plot.
They're all going to start looking the same. Like, you'll know. You can recognize the patterns. Just be like, dang it, you wrote it with Copilot again. Like,
pen test reports as a service.
Pen test.
They all start with Octo was breached.
So at this point in here, I was actually going to disclose that every single one of the blocks of walls of text that I put on here for the PDF readers were generated with Perplexity, actually between Perplexity and Kagi, because I'm not going to type summarize if I can just have those things do it. And they did. I had to edit them a little bit, but they did fine for this. So there might be hope here. And what I'd want to do a call out for is if you are an organization that does sign up for this and begin to poke at it and play with it, and you are allowed to talk to us on the air, please reach out. I mean, I'm really serious. I would like to hear. I think we'd all like to hear how you're using it. You don't need to rag on it. If you find it useful, that's great. We need positive, and this is actually helping your security program. I would love to know that, so I could say nice things about this. We want to know that
tools are actually working. Like, we would be happy to give it props. I know we're kind of riffing right now because it's an unknown. And it's just fun, but like, yeah, to be fair, we want more good tools. Like, we are not anti-good tools. So
I think the bar. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Good. Yeah. The bar for good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We have high standards, high expectations.
The bar for good does what it says, to be frank. So.
Yeah.
And only needs one patch a year.
Does what marketing says it does.
Cool. So since we have talked about AI, I felt important to put out that there's been a big AI in Gov week. I don't if you go. I'm just gonna say, for anyone, go to the AI.gov. That's actually what's out there. It's a new domain. There's been an executive order. We're not talking about that today because it's not really cyber. But to help with that, The U.S. House they updated a statute. The statute numbers aren't important. But Title 15, Section 9401, whatever. They've now codified into or they will be soon if the House can actually do anything. This will get codified into the corpus of law in the U.S. and they define artificial intelligence. I'm not reading it. You can go read it. You can get it out there. But they've done that, and they've actually done the same thing for machine learning. And I was specifically curious: are you happy about this, Emily, being a data scientist or fellow data scientist? Is this a good development? Does it matter? Does it care? Is it the government does the government stuff, whatever?
Yeah, I don't really know what it means in practice. Like in theory, sure, I think this is great. I mean, there are all kinds of definitions of these things floating around. And personally, I still sort of cringe when I hear the term AI. I sort of hate it. It's all just sort of computational statistics in a trench coat. And I know it's much more than that, but I feel really not great about all of the hype and all of the kind of AI is going to save us and or destroy us at the same time. Who's to say? But I do think we have to recognize that these technologies are really, really becoming more and more part of common work stacks and tech stacks. People who are not necessarily engineers or doing deeply technical work are still using these tools. Right. And I feel this is at least acknowledgement that this is a thing. This is actually happening. Whether it actually means anything or does anything, I don't really know. But it is interesting. And it's also kind of fascinating to me that part of the definition of machine learning actually includes artificial intelligence in the definition. But yeah, I don't know.
Which came first, machine learning or artificial intelligence?
Yeah, it's cringe. It's cringe.
I mean, I do think it's good that it's at least being talked about. There's awareness.
Yeah.
I'm trying to not give into the intrusive thoughts of thinking about when Facebook was in front of our Facebook was on the Hill, and some of our geriatric Congress folks were asking really off the wall questions about it. So I can't even imagine how these conversations go. But at least it's a topic. At least there's some awareness. You got to start somewhere. So that's cool. And I will say that AI.gov was not on my 2023 bingo card.
Yeah.
That's pretty wild.
All right, we are going to continue along the path. I just wanted to let everyone know about a really cool thing, and I knew Emily knew about it before the show today. But so what was the was it CVE details?
Trends.
CVE trends before that died when Musk took over Twitter and did terrible things there. And so that was great intel. That was monitoring all the CVE discussions that are there. And we've had that. There's been a void. I'm sure spooks with they're paying $45,000 a month are still doing that somewhere, but they're not doing it publicly. So this is one that I know the researcher's name is Constantine. It's not our Constantine, but it's a researcher's name. And I've reached out to them to see if they could come on and talk more. I'll let folks know if that actually happens. But this tracks CV mentions on Mastodon. So and it basically tracks everywhere. So I don't know exactly what they're plugging in. There's some details in there. I wanted to just basically talk to them and see exactly what are they searching, where are they searching, are they. The whole search Mastodon thing is a very, very sore subject in Mastodonville because they don't like things being archived and saved. It's a weird kind of vibe in Mastodon. But it's really neat. It pretty much fills in that void in that gap. And I'll be curious if anyone does similar thing. I started to do one for Blue Sky, but there's not a lot of scary stuff going on Blue Sky, so I don't think it's worth doing, or at least not right now. But have you all had a chance to play with this or see it before?
Yeah, it's good. I'm glad it's back. The one that we were using previously was very good, very helpful. So yay. Thank you to the Constantine.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, so cvecrowd.com if you want to go play with it. And hopefully we'll get them on the show in the not too distant future. So now Emily's up because we said we would talk about Cisco iOS. I think we will all be talking about Cisco iOS for a good chunk of the rest of the year. But you have a really cool blog up about like you poked at this later after the debacle and check things out. So like, what's the scoop?
Yeah. So about 10 days after the initial advisory came out, I mean, we continued to run scans, right? Like trying to see sort of how the numbers were shifting. And, if you remember last weekend, there was this whole, oh no, the numbers have dropped dramatically. Like everything's fine, nothing to see here. And I was like, well, actually, that's not quite what's happening. And we talked about it a little bit on last week's show, but it looks like essentially the attackers have like covered their tracks or moved on to a different stage of exploitation. And so as of this blog post, we saw around 28,000 hosts that still saw signs of compromise or still appeared to have signs of compromise. And this was based on a methodology that Fox IT came up with, actually. So they noticed in the Cisco Talos blog post, and I won't get super in the details of this, that our blog has like all the details, but they noticed some additional things that they wanted to check out from a screenshot in the original Talos blog post. So they ended up essentially suggesting a different endpoint to use rather than that original one. This one was essentially like the IP address and then /%25. So you're all encoded percent. And so based on the 404 that gets returned due to some different error handling within Nginx and like based on the 404 that's returned, you can deduce that perhaps the implant is still on devices that have this different 404 versus devices that have the stock 404. So we wrote about that. We dug into that, looked at that. It's interesting. Like this is still kind of floating around, but I feel like it's been a little bit quieter over the last week. And I don't know if that's just because so many other things have roared to life or if it's actually sort of quiet. Like we've definitely started like looking at some other things as this has kind of gotten a bit quieter. But yeah, I would say go check out the blog post if this is of interest. We dive into sort of how we looked at these using the new methodology. And one thing, I think we also talked about this last time too, but like, threat actors read the news. Like they pivot and they make changes based on what we do and what we put out. Not we specifically at Census, but what the research community puts out. And I think that's something to think about and be mindful of. We want to share, but we also don't want to like burn visibility. So
cool. Yeah, and we Remy and I deployed a bunch of we have our classic sensor network, like Code Classic, our classic sensor network. I refuse to call it legacy. It's a beautiful thing. And we have our brand new sensors that we have talked and we have opined nicely about that over the past few of these. Remy and I in that new sensor network deployed a bunch of very high quality personas for this particular thing. And the difference being with the classic and the new, like the classic has this beautiful stack that processes all the data and gives us beautiful things in the visualizer, and we're working on that for the new one. So we have to dig through the PCAPs. We just haven't done that yet. So if we do that and we find anything interesting, we will obviously report it here, but we'll also probably blog about it too. So keep an eye out for that. And Emily, you got more stuff. Actually, I think Emily and Glenn, you're both doing this together.
Yeah. So this is a threat hunting workshop happening at Cyber Week in Washington, D.C., or technically in McLean, the week of November 15th. So we'll be co-hosting a threat hunting workshop from 4 to 6 p.m. Wednesday, November 15th. Some folks from our team at Census will be there. Some folks from the GreyNoise side will be there. And we'll just kind of be running through like, here's how to like do some cool things in Census Search on our side. So things like looking for C2s, using certificates to pivot and find related infrastructure. Just kind of some interesting different like threat hunting techniques and tips. And and Glenn and I believe Andrew also will be there. Glenn, so I don't know if you want to talk a little bit about that from your side.
Yeah, that's the plan. We're certainly we're thankful for Census to invite us along for the ride, obviously. So we'll kind of pivot into that threat hunting in that threat hunting vein, like digging through the GreyNoise data, maybe looking for how you should prioritize or what you should prioritize based on what's being exploited, or how you can actually just go ahead and block those things from your network using our data. So it should be fun, and the fact that there will be that it's happening at a brewery or
Mhm.
beer garden. I'm not sure, but it's always a little bonus.
Yeah. So everyone's welcome to join. We've got in the slide deck, there's the link, but if you're listening, you can go to census.com/cyberweek 2023 and sign up. It's free to sign up. If you're in the area, we would love to see you. We would love to hang out. I think it's going to be a little bit of like a research jam, frankly. Frequently, I don't know what I'm trying to say.
I just got to say, like, that's a lot of UTM codes, Emily.
Yeah,
that's
I did
a
not
lot.
do this. I did not do this.
That's I mean, like we are guilty as well. But like that is
those are
insane.
that is we're real serious about tracking apparently.
I'm gonna need you to read that whole URL word letter for letter.
Census.com/cyberweek 2023. just go there. That'll get you what you need.
Kimber, where on the planet are you going to be anywhere near this, Kimber? Because it'd be awesome if you could be there too.
Unfortunately not. I am still over in Salt Lake. I'll probably be I'll be watching from afar, I guess. I'll send you all of my thrunting skills over the astral plane.
I didn't do it this time, Emily.
Wow.
I know.
Okay.
So a ban on the T word.
Okay, so if you do show up thrunting, no go. Okay, got it.
No go.
All right.
Yeah.
Well,
I think everyone that attends should not use that word.
Banned.
Like,
nope. Do you want to get banned? That's how you get banned. Come in with a 3D pie chart and say thrunting to me. That's all it's gonna take. You're out.
Oh man, that's too funny.
Man.
I gotta tell you, if it was craft scotch, I might have actually made the trek down, but it's just craft beer, so it's all right.
You can't have everything. I mean,
hey Bob, if you come, I'll buy you a bottle of craft scotch.
I gotta figure out like how long of a drive it is from here to McLean.
You should come.
Yeah, that would be super fun.
I gotta figure out how long a drive it is and how
Google Maps
close
makes
it is.
it really easy to figure that out.
And how close, and if it's close enough to my grandson to make it worth going down, because that's why I did not do that. So
that'd be cool.
So we need to talk about CVE 2023-4966, which is the Citrix ADC and NetScaler one. Folks that follow me on Mastodon I've annoyed you for multiple days in a row with this one because we have seen an absolute crazy bonkers interest in this particular CVE by threat actors. We have a link up to our visualizer for this, but if you just go there, recent tags, it's in one of the recent tags. You can just find it real quick. We've had a ton of IP address and only one benign, which is basically, I believe it's Binary Edge. They just doing their inventory thing they do. So like, if you haven't dealt with this yet, please deal with it, like, or whatever. Just watch out for this. I mean, you're doomed if you haven't, but like whatever. And just keep it out. And I'll just reiterate something that Glenn and I pretty much say on the regular, which is, you might undo a patch. You might have to do from firmware. You might be crazy and buy one of these off of eBay and put it up and it's not patched. Just be careful with this out there because it isn't great. And we have a little blog about the tag and whatever. So you can go hit that up from there. And just because I'm throwing more tools into these every week now, there's a really neat little Citrix log checker by, I think this is Cert AT. I think it's Cert AT. I don't know. I should go figure. But yeah. Oh, so yeah, Cert AT. That is. I forget who they are because someone looked them. Like I should know who these are. It's one of the. I don't know. But it's one of the great certs. If you don't actually a bit of advice for everybody listening that does any of the that uses any tooling and open source tooling, follow every cert that's on any of the Gits, like GitHub, GitLab, whatever, SourceHut, follow them. They produce amazing tools. They have lots of great intel. You can learn lots just from what the things they put out there. And these folks did that too. So did anyone look that up and can help me out? Austria. We should go visit them.
We should go say hello.
Yeah, I agree. And then we bypassed this last week, and because we just ran out of time, and we're quickly running out of time this week. But I was poking through some of the logs, looking for things that was basically it was a side. I was doing something else in the logs, and this turned into a side quest. I'm sure Kimber can relate to the data dives and then getting, what was that? So we had this huge spike, and it got even worse since the last time, or like the numbers got more increased since the last time. Well, about 906 IP addresses just do hitting our HTTP put uploader tag. And like that's sort of a generic tag because like it's just uploaded things. Like there's no CV or whatever associated with it. And like we see some activity, low level activity, as always attackers trying to do bad things like with HTTP verbs. And I'm like, like why, like what was like, is there any commonalities to this thing? And I poked into it more, and some folks actually, I wasn't going to poke a whole lot more after noting this, but then someone on, and I should put the link up, but I didn't. On Mastodon's like, hey, what is that? And I'm like, I will answer if you ask me that question, like wherever, I will dig. I'm sure all of us will. And it turns out that, and so we didn't have a tag for this. We will have one soon. But this was specifically going after a 2015 vulnerability in Elasticsearch at the _snapshot /test endpoint. And this way, if you go to that, you can see the links to all the exploit to be in freebuffwhatever.com. And it was just an interesting dive that someone decided, like, I'm going to do this today. And I wanted to toss it to Kimber because she's mentioned this a lot, and I want her to double down on it again. Like, do you think this was just someone that was poking around and saying, oh, I see this thing, let's go see it? Like, basically, did someone read something on a blog, finally read something in a report or whatever, and go, I'm going to go try to find this or whatever? Do you think that might be what this is?
I don't necessarily think that's what this is, because that number of IP addresses is so significant.
Okay.
Like if the number was smaller, I would think like, oh yeah, this is just somebody who was like, that one seems easy. But the fact that the number is big makes it much more interesting than just like some script kiddie shit. Like it's I want to know more about the distribution of those IP addresses, and if we've seen a cluster of behavior from them before. Because like when it's something that big, I'm almost like, oh, that's probably a bunch of Tor nodes, and like that would make sense. But yeah, good rabbit hole bait, Bob. Very good rabbit hole bait.
The other thing I wanted to point out on here, and this is something that we need, I'm going to try to convince Brianna and Howdy to come on to talk about this one of these days. I don't know if I was supposed to say this yet, because I know that they wanted to get more proficient before anyone knew, but they have been learning Mandarin for a while now. And one reason for that, and we will probably do a whole segment on this at one point, I think we mentioned it a couple of times, but an increasing number of vuln information and exploit discussion and all that kind of stuff is happening outside of like Latin languages. That's actually happening in Chinese forums and Japanese, like basically in Asian glyph forums, if you will. And this, if you go to this GitHub page, like it is most certainly not in English, and we probably missed it before because of that, and now that we've seen this, we'll be getting a tag for it. But it turns out that we are having to monitor more of those sources now than ever before to be able to do that. And like I was digging in something else, which I'll mention in a future show, and I had to point out to, I think Remy's added it to our monitoring queue, but like there's a whole other vuln forum now that I discovered as a result of doing a data dive for something else as well too. So brush up on your Mandarin skills. Like if you have a learning and development budget, maybe see if your organization can get you one of those classes, because I think it's going to be increasingly important. All right, let's keep moving along. This is something that Morris noted yesterday, so I felt compelled to do it. And I'm not just guessing up to the boss. Like, is anything Cisco related right now is of peak interest to me or keen interest to me. And this is a bonkers spike in the Cisco IMC supervisor backdoor attempt tag. Just massive spike in there. People just seem to be. Yeah, it is. And as people seem to be wanting to find Cisco devices out there. I have no idea if it's related to the current conflicts that are about in the world, or if it's just that people are looking for more stuff to poke at Cisco or whatever. But if you have not already gotten the message to like revisit your Cisco iOS security, and like maybe make sure you're shored that up and have a whole project in place to do that, because most places seem to run Cisco kit. This is probably a really good time to do that if you need more justification. Like we've talked about it a lot on the show and the past couple ones. This spike just makes it even worse. And I just kind of like, you can actually go get details on those as well too. So I don't know if people actually just do a GNQL query in the visualizer. There's a link up for this, and it's out there. You can actually get
noting the top source countries here.
China's source. China's the best, is the largest source, but followed by us. I mean, some of those are just because IP space and residential IPs pwned and whatever. So, it's hard to assert anything associated with that. But yeah, just be careful out there, and definitely use our stuff to make justifications for being able to start projects like that, because it isn't just about responding to a particular threat and blocking IP addresses. You could also use this data to go, we should probably revisit our Cisco like defense strategy. So getting close to closing up, we have 2 tags, Laravel telescope scanner and Dell EMC CGI injection attack. That first one was actually, I was doing a data dive again on our PCAP data and kind of noticed that was in there. So take a look at those if you run the Dell tech, do that. If you care about like what Laravel is scanning for, go for it. Like have a poke at that. Did they screw up my graphic again?
Let's see. I gotta refresh. No.
Todd's probably too busy putting his costume on to ruin the show today. So it's been 5 days since the last Kev release, which was Roundcube. Emily, how bad's Roundcube?
So in looking at this, I actually was not super familiar with this, but this morning I looked and it looks like including named hosts, so things that have a bare IP and a name, looks like there's like 12,000 of them floating around.
Okay.
So yeah, I don't know anything about like version number, patch status, anything like that, but yeah, they're out there.
This is the cross-site vuln right from earlier in the year. I think I can't remember what month this was. I feel like it was early summer, right, Bob? Or do you remember? But I know, like internally with the team, we had a conversation of like, what is Roundcube? Like again, another whole thing that you find out about, and then you find out it's everywhere.
Yeah, I hate how that happens too, because I feel like there's so much stuff that falls in that category. You're like, I never knew these tools even existed necessarily. Like, and I get that like it's a fairly common thing, but yeah, there's a lot of stuff out there that falls in that category, I think, at least for me.
Yeah, I'm more upset they just didn't call it Sphere, because I'm just it seems like a really dumb name to me. So don't know. Best I could do. I know it's not funny. I tried. Also props to CISO. Like thankfully only like one punishing release in the past 5 days, but they did something really great again, as they are wont to do. They took over a project from the UK, which is logging made easy, and it's a Windows thing that literally does what it says on the tin. It makes logging easy. So you should do this if you're having problems getting support and traction on doing logging and looking at logs and getting access, because telemetry is your only savior internally. You need that telemetry to do incidents, and you need that telemetry to
centralized telemetry.
Yeah.
Logs get erased from devices. Like you need to have those logs elsewhere to where the attacker is not erasing them on the system.
Yeah, so we have a link to the announcement and a link to the GitHub repo for this one. This is really great. I appreciate what NCSC did with this originally. I appreciate them collaborating to take it over. Appreciate CISA doing all the work that they're doing to try to keep, citizens and stuff safe in the US. It's really cool to see that. And I believe the penultimate or the last one, and Glenn was the one that brought this up. So as we say nice things about CISA, and CISA is doing all this work, and they're having all these projects, and they're doing all this great stuff, there is a contingent within the U.S. Congress to cut the funding of CISA substantially. And this is on top of our CISA already having trouble finding folks to actually join CISA, because the pay is getting more
on top of looming government shutdown on top
of all those things as well too. So half the Republicans are in the House voted to cut CISA funding by 25%, and one of them has blocked the legislation by for 11th time just because they don't like the fact that CISA wants to secure elections. So first of all, that should be scary to everybody in the U.S., actually even outside the U.S. But this isn't great. So I just want I have written my Congress critters about this to make sure that they don't sign on to this thing, and they do their best to convince others not to do this. And I would encourage all of the U.S. folk that want to see CISA succeed, do that exact same thing.
It's really
getting weird with the election coming up. So all of this stuff about
the next year is going to be terrible.
Yeah, it's gonna be super weird.
Thanks, Glenn. We're really we're literally at the end
Sorry, that's not the Ted Lasso spirit. My bad.
It isn't. Yeah, like seriously, you're totally on character. We are going to end on a very, very positive note, though, because I have to ask Emily something after I just make sure that everyone knows to check us out on Discord. There's no link here, but we'll throw it in there. You can find us if you're joining Discord. We'll get links out for it everywhere. The links tend to not work when we post them, so I'm just not throwing a link. But just find us, talk to us, go to the community Slack, hit us up on the socials. We'll do that. I'm going to put myself back on here, and I'm going to put my costume back on real quick. So I wanted to end on a positive note, and I didn't ask this up front because I wanted to actually end on a positive thing. Emily, you just completed a feat of massive endurance.
I have questions.
And I was hoping like that you wouldn't mind us poking at that a little bit.
Yeah, no, that's totally okay. That's part of why my brain is sort of in another zip code today. So no, that's okay.
So to tell everybody what you did, why you did it, how you feeling?
Yeah, I think I mentioned here, like maybe one of the first times I was on, I was like, yeah, I really want to run a 50 miler this year. And so this weekend I did. I did a 12-hour event and ended up with 57.2 miles, which was pretty cool. I didn't think I would be able to do that. So it was pretty cool. That was pretty exciting. Walking down the stairs the next day was awful. But other than that, like 10 out of 10 would definitely encourage folks to do that, or something like that. It was a lot of fun. Yeah.
Didn't you place? You said you placed.
I did.
Don't leave out the brat. Come on.
I did. I was top female and third overall. It was a small race, though.
Amazing.
It was like less than 100.
Just amazing.
That's still impressive.
Yeah, it's incredible. Emily, it's seriously incredible.
Thank
Like
you.
it is inspirational to continue, at least for me, to continue doing fitness stuff. But everyone out there, you should be inspired by this. Emily's brilliant as well as a brilliant athlete. I mean, seriously, I don't know.
Thank you. That's very nice. I appreciate that. I'll Venmo you after this.
Very cool. All right, so
I'm gonna pause for all right.
All right, good.
Yeah, just like a little bit of a soapbox, but like everyone, like take care of your mental health, right? Like I think I'm speaking for Emily, so correct me, but I'm assuming like this is also a mental health like escape. And like I didn't start exercising, working out until 7, 8, 9 years ago, whatever, my whole life. And like it's such a good mental health thing. And so just a total aside from everything for our folks, like if you're not taking care of your body, like you're doing yourself a disservice. It doesn't have to be hard. It doesn't have to be crazy. But once you start, and I was very anti this, so I'm speaking from experience, but like once you start like moving your body and doing things, you feel better. And then when you stop, you miss it. And so
Yes.
the rate of alcoholism and drug use and all of these like things in our industry is very high. And so, drink your water, take care of yourself. Oh, now I'm turning into Ted Lasso, actually. Drink your water, take care of yourself. But do like, if you're not incorporating movement, like I know this is like very cliche or whatever, but like it does help. It doesn't have to be 50-mile, 12-hour race. It can be, like walk around the block for 15 minutes. But like do these things, and I promise you will feel better. So just take care of yourself, folks. Like our jobs aren't getting easier. So like, let's just take care of yourself.
And you'll be more effective too. That's the other thing. Like if you got to bring it back to work, like you'll be more effective if you. There's now I don't have time to get into this, but there's this whole body of research on like mind wandering and like how kind of mindless tasks actually help you be more creative and think about solutions to problems in a different way. So it's really, really important to be able to do that. Which yes, is a huge reason why I do this. But find something you enjoy to like, take your mind off of things, decompress.
Oh. I thought we had it incoming. That's where I took my mask off, but we don't have it incoming. Anyway, cool. Well, awesome job. I have only biked a 100 miler, which is nowhere near as grueling.
Why?
Yeah.
Why?
No, because it's on two wheels. You're on two wheels.
Yeah, but that's still a very long event. Like that's hours.
It's not. Yeah, but it's not. It's a bicycle. It's not. It
was downhill, wasn't it, Bob?
Oh, that'd be a long. It's a long hill.
I'm
not sure there is a 100-mile downhill, but I mean, you never know. It could be cool. So anyway, it's a good show, long show again. Quote of the episode. Well, I'm going to jail by Glenn, which had nothing to do with SolarWinds. Like, good Glenn is actually going to jail. It's great. So awesome costumes, everybody. Thank you all for joining us again. Any parting words from Emily?
I have no words. I have no words, only vibes. It's Halloween. Okay. That's all I got.
Halloween vibes. Same.
That's all I got.
Emily. All right. And then so same for Kimber, I would assume.
Check your Halloween candy for threat actors.
And for Okta access
There's a
tokens.
cozy bear in my Snickers.
Yeah.
And any more parting wisdom from Ted?
A direct quote: "Be suspicious, not gullible."
Oh, I like that.
Wow.
Very relevant. I like that.
Wow.
Trust nobody.
Glenn, you're more lucid with the costume on. Could you actually maybe wear it more often?
It's the mustache. It's got
He's
style.
channeling Ted right now.
Yeah, he really is. This is
I just
great.
need to bring the mustache to work more often.
Cool. And I would just say thank you all for watching, listening, joining in, participating. It's been great. And check us out again next week for another Stormwatch.
Bye.
See you, buddy.